collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Engine O from Engine Sentai Go-Onger. This is the first entry in the new DXrobo universe line from Bandai. So basically they're kind of reinventing some older mech, and they all kind of share this same like skeletal structure so that you can kind of mix and match and do all kinds of crazy stuff, very akin to what Bandai did back with the Zord Builder line before they sold it to Hasbro. So this is kind of neat. I'm excited by these. I don't think they're going to be as good as the originals, but it's because they're kind of leaning into the swap gimmick, and so some compromises have to be made. But you can see Engine O very prominently here, featured on the front with Go on Red. Over here, just kind of a cool pic of the robot. This is Volume 1. There are others that will be available. Over here on the side, you can also see Speedor, Bear RV, and Bus-On. So you can make the individual mecha as well. And then it shows them all kind of snapping together to form Engine O. And again, because it has that kind of similar structure, you can mix and match. Tokyo is also available, but it will also have compatibility with this guy, because Bune Diesel was the first one to kind of use this, and so it will have compatibility and mix and match capabilities with him as well. So we'll check all of that out. But yeah, I'm kind of excited for this. I've always loved Engine O. It's definitely one of my favorite Sentai Go-Onger, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to get everything out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here are the three individual mecha out of the packaging. We will start here with Speedor. Looks pretty good. Has some nice paint applications. I like the metallic green, the black. You have the engine block here. You have the big eyes and the beak here on the front. Go-Onger symbol, all pretty nicely painted. The arms just kind of hang out the back here. Now again, because this is more simplistic, you don't have the fold down wings. You can't really replicate like the arms coming down when he was flying. I mean, I guess technically you could, but you don't have an elbow joint and the hands don't open. So plus you don't have the wings flying down or folding down anymore. So like, I guess you could kind of try to replicate that, but not very successfully. But yeah, I mean, rolls pretty well. And I mean, it looks like Speedor, so I'm happy with that. Next up, we have Bus-On. Very, very obvious that it's just a pair of legs with a lion popped on there. Not that the original was so much better, but it was definitely more bus-like, I guess we'll use as a term. The sword and the engine soul used to be able to, go into there. Obviously, that's not happening here. There are no engine souls with this. But, the head on the front is painted pretty nicely. You can see the sword there in between the legs. But, very basic. Rolls fairly well. And then next we have Bear RV. Very, very basic. But again, face looks painted nicely. Rolls pretty well, but just very, very tiny. Just for a size comparison, here is, I almost want to call him Diesel-O. That's not correct. Bune Diesel, Maha Robo, whatever you want to call him. Just for a size comparison, just so you can kind of see these all here. So I would say Bus-On, not quite as long, and then obviously Speedor's a little bit smaller, and Bear RV even smaller still. But yeah, they're kind of cool. I mean, you have to know going into this that it's not going to be as, beefed up and fancy as the original. There's a play pattern working here, and that's what they're going for. So just temper your expectations a little bit. But honestly, I mean, I think they represent the individual mecha pretty well. I mean, a lesser version, but still, I mean, like I said, Speedor looks like Speedor. I think these two look like themselves as well, just maybe thinner versions. I don't know how to say it exactly, but I think you get it. I think they are decent. They're obviously not the same as the original, but I don't think it's really fair to compare them directly to the original because, again, they're going for something specific here. But yeah, I think these are pretty good. I mean, honestly, for the most part, I think they look pretty good. Alright, so let's combine them into Engine O. Very, very simple. You're going to take Bus-On. You're going to pop off the little lion face. Everything pretty much snaps in with these kinds of clips. Stuff's probably going to fall off while you're transforming. It's super easy to just clip it back on. But you're going to pop off the little lion head. This is going to flip around like that. You're going to come here, separate the legs. not pull off the plate, just separate the legs and pull the sword out. And there you go. We have our legs. You're going to take Bear RV here and just pop this part off, just like you would with the original, or similarly to how you did with the original. And then this is just going to peg on here. That snaps on there, and then you can take the lion head and pop it on here. Just like that. Let me tilt this up. Then we are going to take Speedor and just split him apart at the back and flip these forward. And then you're just going to flip the arms down. Very simply. And then that's just going to pop right on top here. Just like that. And then you're just going to flip the head back. Like so. Give him the sword. And then come around to the back. And this piece will peg on with this clip spot onto this top clip here. And there you go. Engine O. So a pretty basic transformation, but in all honesty, the original wasn't super complicated either. It looks pretty good, honestly. Not too bad. It does have a decent amount of articulation. Now, the head doesn't move at all. The head is actually just clipped on there. So there's no articulation with the head, unfortunately. But you can move. And these, I feel like this and this, they come off anytime you try to move the arm around. Again, it's very simple to just clip this back on. But I feel like I try to move the hand and like this unclips. Again, just clips right back on. So all these armor bits can completely come off. You could even take this piece off the front of Bear RV. So there's like literally anything you see can disconnect. The head, all the plate pieces, you know, these pieces on the side, you can actually even disconnect like the legs. It's a little difficult to grab a hold of, but you can disconnect that if you want to mix and match things. So that's kind of what they have going on here. But just taking a look at specifically Engine O right now. Like I said, this has a nice ratchet. You can move that around. This kind of moves in and out. You have movement there. There is not a bicep swivel, but there's a swivel right above where the elbow would be, but there's no elbow. You can move the hand, but I feel like it's always going to pop this off because this kind of extends a little bit past the joint. So if you try to move the hand, which you can certainly do, you know, clicks all around in there, you're probably going to have to pop that off and then pop it back on. Technically, you do have movement here in the waist because it's just those connectors. Now, this might pop off when you try to move this because you can see kind of extends past again, but you can move this around and this popped off. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these plates, and when I say plate, I mean not gray skeleton piece, pop off as you're trying to move stuff around. But it's very simple to just pop it back on. But it can be a little annoying from time to time to have those just kind of constantly popping off. You can kick the legs out to the side. Let me get the arms out of the way. So you can go complete 180 with that. I think technically if I remove this and this... No, okay, you do not have... I was trying to see if there was forward kicking movement. Unfortunately, there is not. So it is just out to the side movement. You can move this around. Again, because of the way this plate is, you're probably going to pop it off if you try to do that. But you could take this whole plate off, and then you can move this around as much as you like. Just snaps right back on. Paint applications here, I think, look pretty good. Silver and red looks nice. Got the wheels. No movement in the leg whatsoever. You know, he's just kind of made to be at that kind of angle, and the feet will be level. And I think the head sculpt looks pretty good. Actually, you know what? Just make this easier. We'll just take the head off and take a look. So again, got some nice paint there. The blue for that kind of visor, the yellow for the eyes. Go-Onger symbol, got the gold on the side. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. Simple little head, but it works. I mean, if you're just looking for a fun, simple, version of Engine O that you don't have to pay a high price for, because at this point, those original Go-Onger mecha can be pricey, I think this is fun. Is it as good as the original? No, of course not. It doesn't have any of the features. No engine souls. It has, I don't know if it has more or less articulation. I guess he did have elbows, the original one, and the hands could kind of open. But he probably had less in the leg department. So maybe it's a trade-off. But yeah, I think this is fun. Like, if you're like me and you never had the original engine, like I had the Power Ranger version for RPM, but even that wasn't as good as the Japanese one. I've never had the original Japanese Engine-O. So that at this point would be very pricey, but this is kind of in the $40 to $50 range. And I feel like, it's neat if you just kind of want a representation to put on your shelf, or if you're really leaning into the mix and match. We'll take a look at that. Let me bring in Bune Diesel or Maha Robo, whatever you'd like to call him. I guess I say that because I don't think I've ever heard them refer to him as Maha Robo on the show. They always just call him Bune D, no matter what size he is. So that's kind of how I got used to just calling him Bune D, but there we are. So they do share the kind of similar skeletal structure. Let me get the gun out of the way. I mean, first off, you could just pop the gun in his hand over here. So, I mean, that's simple enough. You could do something like that. They're not exactly the same, though. So, like, if I take off the back pieces here, and we come around to the back here. Now, he has this whole backpack piece that allows him to connect the wing. But you can see that his midsection is different because he has that hinge that allows him to transform. But you could swap that out. So if you wanted to put that hinge over here, you could. You can see that these pieces are the same and these pieces are the same. It's just that middle piece. So like if I really wanted to disconnect this, I should be able to, right? Yes. Just takes a little bit of oomph. So if I wanted to disconnect this and disconnect this and then put this over here, and this should be allowable, assuming I'm not going to break anything. There we go. And then if you wanted to give Engine-O an ab crunch, you could. You could have him sit down. So there you go. And that's the kind of stuff that I think is neat. I think having all these mix and match pieces, not like, I'm not going to go build like crazy Zord builder combinations. That's just not really me. But you can. Sorry, some of these really take some gumption to get them off of there, but they are movable, compatible. And like I said, all these pieces are just going to fly off while you're doing this. And you're just going to have to snap them back on. But again, snap on very easily. As I'm launching pieces across the room. So, let me put this guy back together here. Like this. There we go. So, like that, as I just showed, you can swap the actual skeletal pieces around. You don't necessarily have to, though. If you wanted to, like, let's say I want to take this off. I could take this and literally just pop off the pieces. Now, there might be some clearance issues with other pieces and things like that. But if you don't actually want to swap the skeletal gray pieces around, you can. Man, nobody wants to stand up and cooperate today. You could just swap the armor pieces. Now, again, there might be some clearance issues because this is kind of hitting into Speedor's large chest area, so maybe that won't fit. But you can see they fit over here. The other thing you could do is say I want to pop off these and pop off these. The only thing you have to do is you have to kind of rotate these because these use clips on the front And Bus On uses clips on the side. But you could switch the legs like that, and then rotate this. And let me get the arm out of the way. There we go. So you could do something like that. I mean, you absolutely can completely disconnect the entire arm, or you can just disconnect the armor pieces. So you have that option. Since the skeletal structures are pretty much the same, with the exception of like this piece here, you really could, there's no need to actually disassemble the skeleton. You could just switch out the armor parts. But you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not the most imaginative, to be honest with you, but I kind of like, if I take, what did I do earlier? I think I took this off. I put this back on here. And then I completely disconnected these. And then I took this off. And these arms. And I put the full arms on here. And then I gave him the backpack. I thought that was kind of cool. It's kind of a neat look. Now for this guy, I'm not going to be able to put the shoulder pads on. Because again, they don't fit. But we could just leave those off. And then I would have to take this piece off. But I could put the backpack on here. Like this. And give him wings. So, I mean, the more you buy, the more you'll be able to move these things around. Oh, okay, so because that joint piece sticks out a little bit further. I swear these things don't actually have this much trouble standing. I don't know why they just will not stay up today. But in any case, the whole point is that you can mix and match this stuff around, which I think is fun. Like, I think this combination actually looks kind of cool. Not so much over here, but I like the helmet with kind of the backpack and the larger shoulders. I just think that's kind of neat. And again, like I said, if you want to give either one of these guys the gun, you could do that. But yeah, so as we get more of these, there's going to be a lot more combinations we can do. Tokyo is also out. I have that one. I'll probably take a look at in the next couple days. And then we'll have more combinations we can do. A Gokaiger one for Gokaio is planned in December, I think. And then I think there are others on the horizon. I don't know exactly which. But yeah, depending on how long this line goes for, there could be all kinds of crazy stuff on the horizon. And you could go absolutely nuts with the mixing and matching. You could have like a Voltron situation where you have, you know, one limb from each different mecha and the torso is a different one. The possibilities are endless. I think this is pretty cool. I mean, you know, just out on its own, it's a decent representation of Engine O. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as the original. It's also not nearly as expensive as the original is at this point. It doesn't have the lights and sounds or some of the, you know, posability, but it has other posability in other areas. So posability-wise, it might be a wash. But it's kind of neat. I mean, like I said, if you're just kind of looking for a cost-effective, decent representation of Engine O to put on a shelf, I don't think you'll be, you know, really upset with this. Obviously, the other mecha from this line are not coming. I think they're only doing the main, you know, mecha from each series as part of this. And I think it's really going to be one of those things where maybe you pick and choose your favorite if they do a mecha you never had and you know, just want to get an updated, cheaper version. You know, you grab your one of your favorite. Or if you're someone that absolutely loves the mix and match capability, you could go all in on this line. And I think there's a lot you could do. Now, for me personally, I didn't buy in a lot to like the Zord Builder, you know, from back in the day. And I know it was a big thing. A lot of people loved it, and I'm glad they did. I kind of just want, this is what I saw in the show. This is what I wanted to do. You know, I don't necessarily want to give it the arms from another mecha that it never crossed over with or anything like that. But having this in hand and messing around with it and switching some of the parts, it's grown on me a little bit, honestly. It can be a lot of fun. And the way this works, like with Zord Builder back in the day, okay, they have ports around. You could jam things on there and it looks ridiculous. He's got a Zord or something jumping out the side of his leg, and that kind of looks silly. And that might be why it didn't really appeal to me. But with this, they all have this skeletal structure, and you could completely disassemble it. I mean, if they start putting out a ton of these, you could really like completely take this apart and build it like Lego. I mean, you could say, for example, if I take these legs off and I kind of disconnect this leg, I could come around and connect it over on this side, and it just snaps in perfectly. I could kind of shift this around to the back, you know, to get, maybe I want to build up some crazy thing and I need to give it a little bit more weight on the bottom. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff like that. Like the way these skeletal structures work, you really could just kind of go nuts and build whatever you can think of. Whereas Zord Builder was kind of just, you know, connect things where there are spots. This has even more potential, I feel like, because it has, you know, parts that can completely disassemble, clips you can put all over the place, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I have this on backwards, that's why. I'm thinking to myself, why can't I clip this back on? Because I'm doing it wrong. So I think that, like I said, this has even more potential than Zord Builder because you can completely disassemble the skeleton structure and really just build it into whatever you want. And then you could go back and attach the armor pieces wherever they make sense or things like that. So I think that's kind of neat. It's really going to just depend on how many of these actually happen. I mean, we've seen Bandai do tons of gimmick lines over the years, Sentai and Rider. They get 2 or 3 releases and then kind of die. And I think that would be a shame because I think the fun of this is going to be a year or two from now when they have 10 to 15 of these out. And you could really have some really creative people make all kinds of crazy stuff. Honestly, like Mugenbein, if you're familiar with the Mugenbein line at all, I feel like this is kind of getting into Mugenbein territory where there are so many different pieces and you can just completely take it all apart and build your own crazy monstrosities. I mean, we're talking, you know, giant things, multiple feet tall things with these Mugenbein creations sometimes. So this has potential to kind of get to that level as well if enough releases happen. So we're really just going to have to wait and see. Hopefully Bandai doesn't just make the 3 they have planned and kill it. But I guess that's going to depend on how well they sell. So at the end of the day, if you're someone who does not care at all about the, like, quote-unquote Zord Builder aspect of this, taking it apart, making crazy combinations, if you're just like, hey, I just want an Engine-O, I don't think you'd be disappointed. You just have to know going in that it does not compare to the original. It's its own thing. It is a decent representation of Engine-O. I think it looks good. Paint applications, articulation's decent, all that kind of stuff. But just know they didn't reissue Engine-O. This is its new own thing. But it looks good. I think it's a fine representation. If you just want to put it on your shelf and you don't want to pay exorbitant prices for the original, I think this is fine. If you're someone that totally buys into the whole crazy combination Zord Builder thing, then I think this is just the beginning of something that has a lot of potential. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd like to hear from you. Are you like team crazy combination Zord Builder? Are you someone who just wants an Engine-O? Do you not care at all? Maybe you're completely passing this line over. Because I honestly was on the fence about it for a while, and then I thought, well, let's get the first 2, and we'll see where we go from there. And here I am. So, like I said, let me know. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.